Hello composers, Mike here. In this video you will learn 7 special selection tips that will really boost your music production workflow in Logic Pro X. Let's start learning right now. I will also give you a bonus tip in the end of this video. Tip 1. Select all, which is Command A like this. Now, I know you already know about this, but I want to show you the way I use this over 1,000 times in every production, which is to use Command A first and then press Z to zoom into that entire selection. And I especially like using this in the piano roll editor. So let's say I want to edit these sections as a whole, press E to get into the piano roll, and this is often the case that you do not get everything full screen. So Command A to select everything and then Z, and it's full screen in the piano roll right away. Tip 2. Selective selection. So this simply means that instead of selecting one note at a time or using Command A to select all, you might want to select only a few ones, then hold the Shift key while you press each note you want to select, like this. Tip 3. Select equal color events. Like, let's say these two, you can see they are the same color. You can simply select one of them and then use Shift+C, and it will select every event here in the sequencer that has the same color as the first selected clip. And you can also use this in the piano roll editor. Let's say if we zoom in here again, Command A and then Z. Let's say these are the maximum velocity, the main accents. Well, now you can simply select one of them and then press Shift+C, and you will select all of them, which could be great for selecting, for example, all your main accents. Tip 4. Select all notes of the same pitch. So let's say you have a drum performance like this one, and let's assume this is your kick drum. Well, in many cases you want to make sure that you edit all of the kick drums on this region here. Simply click the note in the piano roll, by the way, let me zoom out so you can see, and all of these notes will be selected. Tip 5. Select all notes of the same sub-position. This is one of my favorite features, by the way. So if we go into this short strings passage here, you can actually use this to select, for example, all your main accents at the same time. Let's say they are on the 1, like so, and here on the 1 again. Well, as long as these are quantized to the grid, you can simply select this note and then use Shift+P, which will select all the notes on the same subposition. And now you can, for example, use the velocity to increase your main accents here. And let's say we have on this note too, again, select a note, Shift+P, all the notes of the same subposition are selected. And for example, you can increase the velocity on these two. Now you can even use this trick to select several subpositions at the same time. Let's say this one, hold down Shift and select this one, and now press Shift+P to select all of these. Bring up the velocity, for example. Let's say these are your main accents, and then you can use Shift+I to invert the selection and perhaps reduce the velocity on the notes that are not the accents. This will increase the contrast, of course, in this performance. Tip 6. Select all following. So of course, instead of using Command A to select all, or simply to use the Shift key and select like this, you can start, for example, with, let's say, this note, and then use Shift+F to select all notes following that notes in this region. Tip 7. Select all notes of the same articulation. So check this out. I have a string pattern here which is using Logic's own studio strings. If we get into the piano roll here, I have actually programmed this note to be a sustain. The other notes are spiccatos. This one is sustain too. This one, in fact, you can see the longer notes here are the sustains. So to select all of them, you first click on one, then use Shift+D, and now you have selected all of the same articulation, which is sustain in this case. And for example, you might want to make them into a tremolo instead, like so. Or whatever you want. Now here's my bonus tip for you. Invert selection, which is Shift+I. Let's go back into this string pattern here, and I will show you when I personally use it a lot. And that is when I edit other quantization values, such as these ones here are actually triplet notes to the grid. If you listen back to this. So, in some cases you want to, for example, quantize or edit everything else than a couple of notes. Simply select these and then use Shift+I and you have selected all the other notes except these triplet notes. And then, for example, you can change the quantization strength. Let's go to 16th notes on these, draw it back so they are no longer 100% strength on quantize or whatever you want. And now you only made changes on all notes except the first selected note. So select and then Shift+I. Check out my complete video series on Logic Pro X tutorials and tips here on my channel. Learn and master Logic Pro X to boost your music composition and production workflow.